Welcome back to Colbert on Golf. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. We're going to take a look back to the Greenbrier last week where we saw some very interesting play as we talk with Jim Colbert. Danny Lee wins the event at the Greenbrier in a four-man playoff. Robert Streb from Kansas City, former K-State golfer, was one of the four contestants in the four-man playoff. He played the back nine, Jim, on Sunday with his sand wedge as his putter because as he tossed his putter to his golf bag by the ninth green, it broke, and he couldn't use it. He did have a putter he could use in the playoff, but never got to that point as he was eliminated on the first hole. But 5 birdies with that sand wedge on the back nine to make a playoff. Has anybody ever made 5 birdies with a sand wedge?
Not that I know of. I would seriously doubt that. In old school, we used to use that a lot from the roughs around the green where now you hit the hybrids and everything. We just blazed the sand wedge and, get a little topspin roll on it. My story about that is I just finished playing in Orlando in 1969, and I was playing really good, just hard. And I was staying at the Holiday Inn, and the next morning I was going to drive out to Rio Pinar and drop off the courtesy car, and Dean Reffram, driving his car, was going to pick me up, and we were going to drive over to Pensacola. Well, there was a terrible, terrible thunderstorm that night, raining, lightning like crazy. And I had a sand wedge and 2 golf balls in the room. My clubs were in the car, but it was so rainy I couldn't go get them. I couldn't sleep. I was so upset. I got out that sand wedge, put one of the glasses in the Holiday Inn on the floor. I must have putted all night. I don't think I got 2 hours sleep, putting with the sand wedge with the leading edge like he was doing into a glass. I got up real early in the morning, got out to Rio Pinar, grabbed my putter and 3 golf balls, walked over to the putting green, dropped them down. There was a hole about 12 feet away, and then there was another one about 20 feet away. And I looked way across the green, and the hole must have been 60 feet. So I'll putt at that one. I get one putt. It went right in the middle from 60 feet. Picked up the golf balls, went to Pensacola, Florida, and won the tournament. That was my first win.
That is awesome. Well, Robert Streb almost won. We had a chance to talk with him on my radio show on WHB in Kansas City earlier this week about the back nine at the Greenbrier last week, making 5 birdies with his sand wedge as his putter.
Wasn't real pleased that I missed my putt on 9 after Jonathan Burke gave me a pretty good read, and then I was just trying to toss it next to the bag, and it kind of hit the bottom of the bag, bounced off, and next thing I knew, the head went flying.
Okay, so at that point, what do you feel? Do you feel desperate? Do you feel embarrassed? Do you feel courageous? What do you feel at that point? Like, I don't have this now. What do I do? What are you feeling at that moment?
I was like, oh, man, I did all that hard work, and now I'm going to have to just do my best not to go backwards. So, honestly, I thought I would be doing great if I played the rest of the way even par, and completely surprised myself.
But when was the last time you had used your sand wedge to putt, and was it an easy decision to use that club?
It's been a while. I goofed off in college my freshman year trying to play a 3-club tournament with some friends and tried to putt with my 2-iron, and that didn't go real well, so I figured belly and the wedge was my best option.
All right, they call it belly and a wedge because you use the leading edge of that wedge to hit right in the belly of the ball. And I'll bet Robert Streb, Jim, never knew when he was goofing around in college in a 3-club tournament with his sand wedge as his putter that it would make so much money for him one day. Guy made over $500,000 finishing second in this tournament, and if he hadn't putted well with his wedge, it would have been a fraction of that. I mean, seriously, he could have made $100,000 this weekend instead of $500,000. That's amazing what he did.
He could have made less than that.
Yeah, right.
You get those sideways with that putter, with that wedge, that ball can, if you get under it just a little, it lost. It gets in the air, it's got backspin on, doesn't go anywhere. You hit it too high on top, you drive it in the ground, it bounces way up in the air and takes off. And, with these hybrids and everything everybody has now, there's normally not that many guys that really know how to do that. But I used to do it all the time from off the greens, and like I said, I got off, I used to putt with it because you got to hit it really good, to get it to go the way you want. And I promise you, there was a lot of golf pros Monday morning out on putting greens with their sand wedge. I promise you.
Seeing if they can get it straightened out. Well, Robert later in that interview admitted he did toss it a little hard at his bag. It wasn't the gentle toss, so he had just missed a putt. He didn't slam it or throw it, but he tossed it harder than he should have, and it sounds like he's got a little bit of a fragile putter. He said he'd broken it before leaning over to pick up a ball because he'll lean against it and it snapped that way. So he's got a pretty delicate little offset shaft that goes down on the edge of his putter, and he says, I better be a little more careful with it. So,
well, I was up in Minneapolis, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. On the first hole, I was playing with Stadler and somebody else, and I really felt like I had a lot of game. And anyway, I hit a really good drive, hit a really good second shot. I got about a 6-footer for a birdie. I fixed the ball mark, and with my old Rossi 2 putter, I just tapped down the ball mark like you always do. And the head just fell right. It just had one string left on it, and the head's just dangling. And the turf official was coming by, and I said, hey, would you run up the car? The keys are in my locker, and get a putter out of the trunk. I got another one in there. He says, Jim, you can't do that. I said, well, no, I was using it as a normal course of play. I'm fixing a ball mark. I just tapped it down. That's normal course of play. He says, it certainly is. But they changed the rule this year. If it breaks, you can't use it. I was getting ready to quit, and, Stadler said, come on, what are you going to do, Jim? I mean, my goodness, you hang around, what are you going to do? You might as well play. Well, I played around, I think, in about 76 or 77, and, I started with the sand wedge, and then I went to a hybrid, and then I tried a 2 or 3 iron. I didn't have a good day on the green.
Well, the rule now, you'd have been okay, right?
Oh, yeah, it was the rule before that.
Right.
It was just 1 year, and I wasn't paying that close attention to something like that.
Streb said he didn't know that he was going to be allowed to use a putter in the playoff until they informed him that he could, and somebody had placed an extra putter. When he broke his, somebody went to his locker, I guess, and put a putter in there and said, here it is if you need it or whatever, or take it with you to the next stop. Or I assume it was the rep, maybe from the company. He said it, Scotty Cameron putter or something like that. And he said he found out while he was scoring his card at the end, they said, now, if you make a playoff, you can get a putter. He's like, oh, okay, great. So he went and got a putter and started practicing with it. I was like, okay. He never got to use it in the playoff.
No, I mean, he had a really good tee shot in the playoff. I mean, it went about 2.5, 3 feet too far. Otherwise, it was going to come right back to the hole, which was only 12, 15 feet away. And the announcers were all talking about, well, should he putt with his putter or should he putt with the sand wedge? And Faldo was saying, it's a sand wedge for me, the way he's putting. It's the sand wedge I'd use. I wouldn't change.
That would have been great, man, if he'd have won the tournament and refused to use the putter and just kept with the wedge. One other item here on last week, Tiger Woods says after the Greenbrier, it's the best he's played in a long, long time. What'd you see in Tiger's game that you liked? He hit 12 out of 14 fairways on Sunday. That's really good for him. Is he getting better?
Well, according to Sunday, I saw him earlier in the week play a few holes. And I saw him hit it out of bounds with a driver. He's still got a pretty big drop. Well, he's working like crazy on it, but he still drops quite a bit going back with the long stuff. And I'll just answer it the way Faldo did. He said, well, that's a nice sign of encouragement and improvement. But until he can hit a really good drive under pressure, I'm not buying it. So I think I'd feel the same way. You have to be able to drive it very well.
When Colbert on Golf continues, why the owner of the Greenbrier last week handed out nearly $200,000 in $100 bills around the 18th green. We'll talk about that next, right here on Colbert on Golf.
You're listening to Colbert on Golf, built by Midland Exteriors. Online at MidlandExteriors.com. Midland Exteriors, we've thought of everything.